Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your Washington Commanders update, and I am your host, Candi CWall Waller, checking in as I love to do all throughout the NFL season to give you the latest and greatest information on the Washington Commanders. You all may have already seen me, I'm sure, right? Hopefully, you've watched my Washington Commanders exclusive insights on training camp day one. If you haven't watched the day one episode, I do encourage you to watch the day one episode because I'm going to try to do this in chronological order. If I can remember what day it is by the time we get to like around day 8, probably is when I start to lose it a little bit. But at any rate, hello, Bowie television watchers. Hopefully, if you're watching on channels 190 or 1097, hello. If you have Comcast, if not, you're watching on YouTube, hello to you as well. I'm just going to go and get right on into it. If you watched my exclusive insights from training camp day one, I said I'm going to try to do this in chunks, right? And as I was already kind of like going into, okay, what do I want to say about day two? What do I really want? It kind of all went into day three as well. So if you're following me on X at CWall SE or even on Facebook on my Candi Waller page, I made a comment, I made a post. I said that Frankie Louvu was making my blood pressure go up, right? And I said the defensive line is acting like they got a game on Sunday, right? And I was like, well, what am I watching exactly? What is happening exactly? I said, let me get my mind right. Because clearly this organization definition of ramp up is not mine. Okay. Not at all mine. A lot of energy, which is good. So I'm kind of going to do this like I did in exclusive insights day one, which I'm going to share a clip and then I'm going to get into the meaning or what I think is meant of the clip. And maybe some of this might be out of order. Now that I'm looking at it, my team is probably going to be like, we helped her figure this out. So not sure why she doesn't know what to do. At any rate, it's all very important points. And most of these clips, let me also say this, and being honest, most of these clips here are Dan Quinn. Okay. And I think the reason why I did it this way is because I always want to ensure if you watch my show during the season, I do this thing called use your clues. And my whole kind of background context for using your clues is about when things are being said in press conferences, we got to tie that back to what we're seeing, what we're watching, what's happening. So I'm going to go to this clip because it's a very important point.
Head coach for several years, bringing new faces into the culture. How difficult, or is it, to get them to assimilate to what you're doing?
I think it's exciting because I walked to the hotel with Vaughn and asked him, how was the first day of school, man? You know, because there's all these new faces and they meet everybody. I'm this person. I said, you remember any names? A couple. So I like it because yesterday I kind of got to talk about who we are, a philosophy standpoint, why the competition drives us, what we're looking for. There has to be this collaboration on a team of offense and defense and special teams, the way they work together, the way they go after it against each other. And so seeing new players, you can call it onboarding because there's an element of that. These are the standards we have. They're really high, and we're certain you're going to meet them. But there's also a lot of fun also with that chick because we're finding out who they are. And like in Vaughn's example, there's a lot that he's going to bring to our team on and off the field. Adam had referenced it yesterday. They're not here to coach. They're here to play. But the 35 or 36-year-old Vaughn is different than the 25 or 26 from an experience standpoint. Now you're able to share some of those thoughts and ideas with another teammate. So I like fresh ideas, fresh thoughts, but their first job is to get acclimated, to the team and find their rhythm, and that takes a minute.
And what I shared in exclusive insights from training camp day one was that from the looks of this, looks like the new folks are acclimating pretty well. All right. The energy is there. Looks like they're figuring it out just fine. But we're gonna go with Coach said, but it looks like things are going according to plan. Another thing that Coach Quinn said in that clip that I think is so important. This goes back to what I said in my insights from training camp day one about the old guys, right? Or as you all would put them, the old guys, because I didn't say that. I don't want anybody to think I called them old, because no, right? And as Bobby Wagner shared in the clip that I shared with you all in this previous episode, in this particular training camp series, I said, or he said exactly, in any other industry, 35 is considered very young, but in this one, it's like you're 200 years old. Here's what I would like to encourage people. I like to say now that in this staff, clearly age ain't nothing but a number. All right. I want to point out something else that Coach Quinn said in this clip is, reminder that Adam shared, these guys are not here to coach. Right. And in a conversation I had directly with Dan Quinn, specifically about Bobby Wagner, he said, he's not here to coach. Okay, cool. Von Miller is not here to coach. And I remember last year when there was a lot of conversation about Bobby Wagner's age, Zach Ertz's age, Austin Eckler, Nick Ballore. It's like, I want everybody to use their clues again. If they're bringing someone in here, regardless of their age, but if they're bringing someone in here, then clearly they have something to offer this team. Okay. Is age a factor? Okay, yeah, I guess. Probably so. Sure. But at the same token, I think it's a very important point that we've already seen this team bring in people that have made instant contributions to the team. So you take age out of it. And then let's go back to something else Bobby Wagner said in the first episode of this training camp series. In this clip, it was, okay, someone might be saying something about my movements, but probably because of his experience, okay, he's moving faster, he's taking more steps, but I can take the least steps to get to I know the spot he's going to. So it's not going to take me as many steps to get there. It's more mental, right? So I really want to get into this Von Miller thing. On day one, and I didn't mention this intentionally in the day one episode because I said I really wanted to get into it in day two, because he was actually on a vet rest day on day two. He was on a rest day on day two, as well as Laramie Tunsil and Noah Brown. Laramie Tunsil, vet rest day. Noah Brown, we already know that Dan Quinn said that they were going to ramp him up. So, that's, why he was on that rest day. On day one, I made a post. I said, Von Miller doesn't look old at all. And everybody's like, well, I hope he don't look old, this, that, and the third. Listen, look. Okay? On day three, definitely did not look old. And I thought about the clip that I shared with Bobby Wagner talking about he knows the movements. He knows the spot. So he can get there. He can get there with less steps. And I saw Von Miller do something very, very similar on day three. And I'm going to go to this clip about Dan Quinn talking a little bit more about Von Miller and what he can bring and what they've seen in him. And we're talking about, from a pass rush perspective, that was a position from the edge that so many had concerns about, right? Who's gonna come off the edge? Who's this? Who's that? They need this. They need that. You have somebody now, and though he may not be in every single down, everybody should know and using your clues and just seeing and really paying attention now, right? Because the team that you all love played up until the NFC Championship. So you should really, really understand the importance of depth, the importance of longevity, the importance of staying healthy, and that importance of just when you get really into that part, it levels all the way up. So needing that experience, understanding who can really read these movements of offensive players from the defense perspective, and then vice versa, is so critical, especially when you get into that portion of the season. Let me jump to this clip about from Dan Quinn sharing a bit more on Von Miller.
Von, what were some of the things that you saw in the leading up to this on film that said, like, hey, he still has something to offer here?
Yeah, you want to see as a pass rusher, John, first thing, can you beat somebody to the punch? You know, he's got different unique talents. He can bend. He's long. So, but at this point, it's what's the skills? You know, you want to find out what the skills are. And I like the stunts. I like that he's versatile, that he can play from his feet. He can play from down. We like to use variety in how we would want to go attack things. So that was some of the things that we talked. I'd be up on my feet. I could go inside, stand up. And so Luvu does some of that. He does some of that. I just like having a deep crew of guys that can be versatile and do things. But I also like the detail that he gets into as a pass rusher. We talked a lot about the summit that, you know, he's been part of for a long time, of other players and, you know, their ability to share and veterans. So it was just fun to talk pass rush with him, honestly. So what I saw on tape, the quickness to beat somebody to the punch, and that's what pass rushing, the first part, has to be about getting the offensive tackle back and feeling that stress. If you don't have that, it makes it difficult to put a lot of stress on a tackle.
So you had some older players, Bobby, Zach, guys like that, who were productive. What's your philosophy, and how has it changed with handling guys who are at that stage to keep them fresh throughout the year?
Well, really, organizationally, that's, you know, a big topic for us, to make sure that it's customized, John, to each individual player. Through Josh, we've invested a lot, you know, on terms of recovery. We put that as part of our day. But there's also some practices that, you know, there'll be some days where a player who's got a lot of experience and a lot of games, they won't do the same amount as some that's, you know, needs more. And so we just try to customize it on a, even though it's a big scale, but when you're in training camp, it's actually a little easier to do, John, than in season. He can be out, we can work this day, and so we map out the calendar, Adam and I together, what days would make sense for somebody to back off, what days would make sense to push it, because you also need those days as well.
So that goes perfectly into what I just shared with you all about who has already had some off days, right, on day 2, and then what to be looking forward to. So once my colleagues and I are reporting out on who has a rest day or who didn't practice today, you can refer back, you can use your clues and think about that clip that I just shared with you all of the kind of philosophy and context behind why some players may not be practicing on certain days. So keep that in mind as well. Another thing around Von Miller is just what he can do and some of what Frankie Luvu can do. And then Coach Quinn also mentioning he just likes to rolling out a deep crew of guys that can do versatile things. That is a very important point. If you've been rocking with Coaching from the Couch and the Washington Commanders update for a minute now, you know I may reference, break out your notebook, get your pen and pad, and use your clues, because this is very, very important points that I'm sharing here and things that you all can remember, not just in training camp, right, as I referenced the rest days, but just in terms of understanding that some of these guys do similar things, other things can do different. And when you're talking about your opponents, they're going to adjust based on who they're trying to beat, right? But keep those things in mind. Super duper important and interesting. And just Von Miller is an experienced vet. Like, Who's going to be mad about Von Miller coming off the edge? Is anybody going to be? I mean, not on this end, but maybe the opponents will feel some type of way about it. But this is somebody who is still very, very much respected in this industry, okay, and by opponents. And it's somebody that Commanders fans, I hope you're feeling good about having in the burgundy and gold, because I was hearing some different tones as I was like, wait a minute, wait, hold on. So moving on to another topic that I think is very important. You all have been talking about the offensive line. So let's go to a clip where Coach Quinn is talking about that.
Dan, with Tunsil and with Josh, athletically, what do you anticipate they may be able to do to enhance the run game, especially with their abilities?
Yeah. There's a lot. I think it's the athleticism of being out on the perimeter. So those are pull plays, where you could be on a counter, you could be on a toss, you can get outside. The other one, that comes up is on the screen game, because now you're downfield. In the old days, you remember the lineman could go and just throw. That's the term, would go and cut, it was a corner or downfield, and the big guys could go and just that. But now you have to sustain that block on your feet, and it's in space. And so those are the two areas, I think, pulling and being in space where you can go sustain on a screen. And if you can get a block on a screen, you give a guy like Debo a chance to go hit a crease, that's a big deal. So I think it's twofold: pulling, because that's also space, and the screen game.
Did you write that down? Use your clues, folks. This is something that you will see. Okay, this is something that you will see. I'm not saying you're going to see it all the time, but you're going to see it. You're going to see it. And those are the things that when I'm listening in press conferences and I'm thinking to myself, okay, what is it that I want to share with the fan base that they should be looking out for? What are the things? What are the clues? What are the important points? What are the notes that they can say, okay, this is what they're working on. This is what's happening. This is what's going on. Because it's so much more than just like, the ones, the twos, and who's doing all that. Which I do think it is important for me to share a clip on that, because I've already gotten many questions about, well, who was out there on this play, or who was this, or who was that? And I can get into who was where and what and when, but Dan Quinn was definitely asked about that last week. And so I for sure want to play that clip.
A little smaller bore question. So we saw yesterday Wiley with the ones and Connolly with the two at right tackle. At this stage, what should or should we not read into that? Like, I guess where's your mindset at with that position right now?
We're going to compete for this for a while, so I wouldn't look into it, because you'll see on ones today that Connolly will be at right with the ones, and we'll mix it around some. So, and I wouldn't read into that in the same space. So it is cool to see. All right, he was, here's going against Vaughn, and then the next time against DA. And so how do we work different guys and work them? And the training camp practices against other teams help as well. So that's why I'm looking forward to having the chance to go up with the Patriots and have the Ravens here. So in preseason games, so like there's a lot of exposures that can happen, and that's kind of how you get better. You just got to go and fight for it. But it is a fun experience to go through. I was, thinking about him yesterday. Like, he's probably watched a lot of Von Miller, but he's never blocked him, And so, and blocking him in practice and the first day with no pads is well different than, 3rd and 8 with inside of 2 minutes with the game on the line. So lots to do, but I'm really encouraged by Josh's work ethic.
So when you all are asking myself, some of my other colleagues that are out there on the ground every day in the heat, watching the team, Coach Quinn just said it, right? Somebody asked him very directly, and he said, hey, and on that day, which he was absolutely correct, you're going to see more of Josh at right tackle, right? Right? He said you see a whole lot of Von Miller, but he never blocked him. Whoop! Different scenario. Very different look and feel, for sure. I mean, hey, whoa, So he also, so write that down. That is important. They're mixing things up. This isn't figuring out the roster today. This isn't figuring out the roster tomorrow or the day after that or the day after that, right? This is still competition. And like he said, I wouldn't read too much into it. This is competition. They're going to be competing at this for a while. So keep that in your back pockets. Very, very important. Another very important thing, and I've started to share this on some of the shows that I've been a guest on. Coach Quinn mentioned the joint practices. That is when you can start more than likely reading into who's going in with the ones, who's going in with the twos, etc. Right? So the first time you can start reading into that, Patriots. The next time you can start reading into that, joint practice against the Ravens. But while, at least in this time period, and I've seen it already. I got asked about who was, at center, and I'm like, I've been seeing a number of people do this. I've got asked about, who's at returns, and I've shared. Okay, I've seen Jalen Lane, I've seen Austin Eckler, I've seen KJ Osborne, I've seen Taj Felton. I keep calling him Taj, maybe it's not, but I've seen different people at that role, right? And so I would, when it comes to the lines and I'm getting ready to play, another very important point clip that I do not want you all to miss. I do not want you to miss these very important points. And I'm kind of gearing and targeting these episodes based on the questions that I'm getting. And I know already if I'm talking about a play, if I'm talking about something, the first thing someone is like, who was that up against? Who was this? Who was that? And it's like, just hold off. Wait a minute. I can tell you, but I don't want you to like take it to heart. It's July. And even when I mentioned, right, and I'm going to play this next clip, but even when I mentioned, hey, day 3 wasn't the best day for the offense. It wasn't the best day for Jaden Daniels. But guess what? That's what you want to see on day 3. You want to, hey, he's still human, everybody. Check in. Very good. He's still human. Great. Perfect. Great. Let's get that out now. Day 3. Much preferred on day 3 than week 3 against the Las Vegas Raiders, right? Cool. Great. Defense. Kicked it up a notch. Iron is going to sharpen iron. Continue to get in the lab, continue to improve. If it was too easy, that's not good. That's actually pretty bad if it's a little too easy for you. 3 days in a row, right? So he's moving and grooving and shaking. In day 3, the defense said, okay, we here with you. We know you. All right, we back. Don't worry about it. We here. Okay, get back to work. It's cool. So just keep those things in mind. It's still early, but that's why I'm sharing these things with you so you can keep that note. Level set expectations accordingly. Trust me, you all will know when I say pay attention to this or say, okay, this is something they need to work on, then that's real. I want to share this clip because I think this is super important.
Without manipulating the depth chart, are you going to find ways to make sure that Josh gets some reps against Vaughn during camp?
We definitely will, and that's in the morning meetings with the staff. When can we do this? When to find it? I've kind of felt through the years there's about 3 positions that training camp is where the best evaluations happen. Running back, did he break the tackle? Because there's an angle you're not sure, and then the offensive line and defensive line because their games are just different with the contact. The receivers, the corners, the quarterbacks, I think you can get a better assessment. But for those 3 positions specifically, we will. And that's exactly the type of competition that we're talking about.
I hope you please. If you didn't write that down, I need you to. Now, if you're watching on TV, if you got DVR, you could be able to rewind this. Okay. If you're watching on YouTube, definitely run that clip back. Run that clip back for certain because that's super important point. Okay, run it back. Okay, did he break the tackle? All right, and of course the lines of scrimmage. Ask me about the one-on-ones when we get there. Oh, don't worry about it because I'm going to tell you anyway. Okay. I'm certainly going to tell you anyway. And so I hope I've given some of the insights and sharing. Is so much more I could share. Trust me, it's a lot. But I think based on the questions that I've been hearing and I've been receiving so far, these are the things that you really need to be paying attention to right now. The energy is there. I'm also just paying a lot of attention to the attention to detail. Another one of the players I want to mention, one of the more newer commanders, Javon Kinlaw. Been very impressed with Kinlaw so far. And if you don't hear me say somebody's name, it's not because they're doing a bad job. Everyone's doing exactly what they should be doing. But I'm thinking about who has stuck out to me thus far, or just what I'm looking for overall. I talked a lot about this during OTAs, and it's just like it's it's all good things. It's all good things. And when you see something that doesn't look so good, again, going back to what I shared publicly on my X and my Facebook about day 3, it's not to panic. It's to say, okay, everybody's human, good, because sometimes you don't know. But all right, cool. Now we have a progress point. Now we have a place to say, how are you going to correct that? How are you going to move forward from that? Because we know that they are, because that's the type of crew this is, for sure. Nothing to panic about. All good things, all good practices that we've been able to watch as the media. So looking forward to more, finding ways to work through the heat. As you all know, they've made some of the practices an hour earlier, right? So very early mornings, but good because of the heat index. So for those of you all who will be at practice this week, um, I will try to say hello. And if I don't, I'm sure you'll understand, because after practice gets very, very busy. But I will be out there with a straw hat on, not the Kingsbury hat. I have my own version of a hat. And so you should see me walking around the gravel every day if you're there this week, because I know that fans are there. So I hope this episode has helped. I will continue with the training camp series, giving the exclusive insights to you all. I hope you're locking in. I hope you're watching on TV. Hope you have the channel if you're a Comcast cable subscriber. And if you're on YouTube, definitely send all your Washington Commanders loving family and friends to Bowie TV, because we have quite the content, as you can see, on the Washington Commanders. And I'm going to be checking in quite often to give you all the latest and greatest on what's going on with the team. So guess what? This is the conclusion of the Washington Commanders exclusive Insights training camps days 2 and 3. I will be talking to you all again soon.